News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. A winter weather advisory continues for several counties overnight, but how much snow can we expect? Our first alert weather day continues, and meteorologist Eric Dean has the latest forecast. Eric.
That's right, Stephen. As we mentioned yesterday, this is not a major winter event at all. The majority of us will see a coating to as much as an inch, and that's exactly what's going on. Now, with that in mind, winter weather advisory is still in effect for the counties shaded in purple. They are currently in effect, and they expire throughout the day on Saturday. So if you have travel plans, make sure you allow yourself some extra time to get to your destination. We're still seeing a little bit of snow on live pinpoint Doppler radar, and we'll go ahead and pinpoint our West Virginia counties over towards portions of Mingo and Logan County, especially over towards Logan County, over towards the Mount Gay area. We're seeing some snow, even a little bit of a wintry mix to the south of the Mount Gay area. So let's go ahead and take a look outside, and again, we're seeing a little bit of snow, otherwise mostly cloudy skies across the area. Temperatures right now hovering around freezing. That feels like temperature because the wind is picking up. Feels like temperatures are in the low 20s. Our dew point is in the upper 20s and low 30s as well. So some reduced visibility in the evening and overnight hours, certainly a main contender there. Now, coming up in the first alert forecast, we'll tell you how much more we can expect tonight going into the day on Saturday. Details in a few minutes. Steve?
Eric, thank you. An Indiana man convicted in the 2017 killings of two teenage girls who vanished during a winter hike was sentenced to 130 years in prison today. 52-year-old Richard Allen arrived at court this morning shortly before the judge handed down the maximum sentence allowed by law. He was convicted of murdering 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German. The teens' bodies were found off a hiking path near their hometown of Delphi, Indiana, nearly 8 years ago.
This community has embraced our families from day one and continues to lift us up and support us. And again, for that, I'll always be grateful. I want to thank them.
Allen's attorneys plan to appeal. Firefighters are still on the scene of a massive fire on the former Virginia Intermont College campus early this morning. Bristol, Virginia police and firefighters, as well as more than a dozen nearby fire departments from both Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee, responded to the scene. The college closed its doors back in 2014. City officials called it a tragedy, and neighbors said homeless people had been living in some of those buildings. Starbucks baristas in 3 U.S. cities have walked off the job as Amazon workers in several states hit the picket lines for a second day. The strikes impacting two of the nation's largest companies come just ahead of the holidays. CBS's Danya Backus reports from Los Angeles.
With the holiday rush officially on, some workers and drivers are holding the line at several Amazon distribution centers across the country.
We're out here to strike for higher pay, safe jobs, and job security.
Ruby Wiggins has been working for a third-party vendor, delivering packages for Amazon in Southern California.
We wear their uniforms, we enforce their policies, we drive their branded vans.
Amazon workers, led by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Union, are pressuring the online giant for a labor agreement.
Corporate greed has got to stop. This is our message to them that we're not going to take it no more.
So far, Amazon appears to be ignoring those demands, arguing the striking workers are not direct employees of the company. Starbucks baristas at some unionized stores here in Los Angeles, as well as Chicago and Seattle, are also picketing, citing lack of progress in their contract negotiations.
They're using their right to basically let it be known that they're tired of not being paid, not being valued.
Treat your workers like you should.
Baristas across the country began striking earlier this year, calling for higher wages and more staffing.
Without the baristas, there is simply no coffee. It's common to skip breaks. It's common to not respect time off. I've realized that nobody else is going to fight for these things, so I have to do it.
Starbucks says it's ready to reach an agreement and is calling on the union representing its workers to return to the table. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Amazon says it does not expect strikes to impact holiday shipments. Organizers at Starbucks say their strikes will begin escalating every day until Christmas Eve unless an agreement is reached. We are just hours away now from a government shutdown, which is set to take effect at midnight tonight unless Congress can pass a plan to continue funding the government, and we understand there might be a vote pretty soon. But CBS's Nydia Cavazos is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
Republicans are trying to find legislation that can win support from their own ranks and keep the government open.
I expect that we will be proceeding forward. We will not have a government shutdown.
The latest plan is to bring forward the same bill that fell Thursday night, but without the provision to suspend the debt ceiling, something President-elect Donald Trump pushed for.
This is a negotiation that's been going on since early this morning, and I'm sure they've had conversations with the President-elect's transition team to decide how to move forward.
Republicans have left Democrats out of the negotiations, and Democrats say any shutdown will be on Republicans.
Don't come to us and say, you got to vote for our thing or it's your fault. This is not how it works.
Democratic leaders have also been in communication with President Joe Biden. Meanwhile, government workers are being told to prepare for the worst.
Agencies did start notifying their employees of their potential furlough today at noon.
Only essential workers would be allowed to work. That does not include people preparing for Trump's big day.
The planning for a January 20th inauguration that is spectacular will have to be paused.
TSA workers would still be on the job, but without pay, and the agency warns there could be delays at the airport. Nydia Cavazos, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
While TSA agents are considered essential workers and will be on the job, many TSA personnel called out sick during the 5-week government shutdown that ended back in January 2019. Again, we are awaiting a possible vote in the House that would avoid this government shutdown. We understand that could happen at any time, and we'll keep you updated. And of course, there'll be more about this later on the CBS Evening News. Today, Senator Mitch McConnell spoke on the Senate floor as his time as Republican leader is coming to a close. He talked about the possibility of a government shutdown, saying that he has reminded his House counterparts on many occasions the impacts that could have.
I don't care to count how many times I've reminded our colleagues and our House counterparts how harmful it is to shut the government down, and how foolish it is to bet your own side won't take the blame for it. When you try to use normal government function as a bargaining chip, you pay a political price.
Officials say they are expecting a major economic growth in 2025 in neighboring Tennessee, even outpacing the U.S. average. The Boyd Center at the University of Tennessee says wages and salaries grew this year. That's expected to decrease in 2025, but not by much. As far as population projections, the center says the state will see more than 600,000 people move to the state by 2030.
Looking ahead, the state is projected to see moderate economic growth over the next 2 years as well, as the economy continues to stabilize. So with Tennessee seeing a slightly slower rate of GDP growth than the nation this year, but then stronger growth than the U.S. next year.
The report also saying job growth in the state remains positive, with the unemployment rate low, but expected to rise a bit in the future. Trump Media's stock price dropped in early Friday trading. That's after President-elect Trump transferred his ownership in Trump Media and Technology Group into a trust. The move was disclosed in a regulatory filing, which says the trust will be controlled by his son, Don Jr. Ethics experts have routinely criticized Trump for maintaining massive ownership stakes in his businesses while serving in office. In theory, a trust could clear some conflicts of interest. The first U.S. diplomatic mission to the Syrian capital since the fall of dictator Bashar al-Assad happened today. The U.S. delegation met with members of the HTS rebel group that is serving as the de facto government in Syria. Discussions were expected to focus on expectations for a transition to an inclusive Syrian government. A news conference was planned to share more details, but had to be postponed due to security issues. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, we take a look at how old school